Everyone, this is Sarah. I'm from the security team here at the team. So what we are building is essentially a unified layer tree which aggregates all the liquidity across L2 and also Ethereum onto a single unified layer. So yeah, nice to meet everyone.
Alright, so the first question is for you. Can you explain what multi-chain compatibility means in the context of blockchain technology and why is it becoming more important?
I think in the context of blockchain, it's definitely whereby every single chain will be able to interact seamlessly. So it's going to get very important in the future because you see a lot of L2 chains and also L3 chains rising up. So from a user's perspective, how do you onboard these users towards these many chains, right? And also how do they get cross-chain experience in the future, right? So if you are a Web2 user, there's no need to switch between different chains, right? So this is really an important problem that the industry is also solving through aggregation, aggregated layers and also chain abstraction.
Yeah, you give a great point. For Ryan, for example, we're using multi-chains just because we get the real acquisition. We're not talking about the technology of development here. Our main focus is to get as many Web2 users, which is wonderful for us. Our aim is to get over 300 million runners around the globe to the Web3, experience it via the convenience of using multi-chain. So that's highly what we're focusing on right now. And we started with user acquisition by accepting ERC20. Then we started getting user acquisition from MemeCore, which is by Meme. And so we successfully got many acquisition from MemeCore and by Meme community. Then we're on to the base, which we were able to get a lot of US-based users. Now we're on to the Solana chain to get more user acquisition. But to sum it up, our core value is to get a healthy Web3 running community by onboarding Web2 communities. So I think multi-channel is the core value that matches our core value, where we can get the real world users. In fact, the real world users and runners wouldn't even know they're using multi-chains. It's not about technology, it's more about getting the real users by providing a healthy and convenience and high development environment to the users. So that's our point.
Yeah, that's an awesome point. As we're talking about multi-chain compatibility, it sounds like we're aiming for a chain agnostic future where we want to optimize user experiences so that user will not feel the deploy multiple chains or switch between different chains. When we need to do it in the infrastructure, that's what we are doing. Especially when we are trying to send messages across different chains, confidence around security and also efficiency. So that's what we're doing with the specific ZK algorithms for multi-chain compatibility, for multi-chain capacity, so that any project that wishes to build a multi-chain future can utilize our infrastructure for verification of the cross-chain messages so that we can keep everything secure, safe, and efficient.
Yeah, I think this is the main thing that we're working on at Zero. At least it's from the very beginning, if you're building on, it doesn't matter, what about chain abstraction here. But it's EVM, not EVM, the experience as a developer should be exactly the same. It should have the same exact functionality where you're building. And so for us, building on a protocol that gives that experience to developers across any chain, and then building a toolkit to make it as easy as possible to go from 0 to 1 as a developer, never use layer 0, you're new to blockchain development. So then it's alright, onboarding is involved for the developer itself, and then the last piece of it is moving to the user, right? So it's today we have many magnitudes more users for developers, so it's we need to make it easy one for the beginning developers to get on board and then make the user experience way better than what it is. And there's many chains now, tons of different gas tokens involved, and so like as a user, to make it like branching to like mainstream, it's so much easier for like users to be like, okay, I have like USDC in my wallet, and I want to just like do this action on some application, and I don't bring a chain into it. Like I should be able to just like use that USDC, do that transaction without thinking about gas, having to go get it, don't worry about which channel, and like all of that routing in the hood just like is taken care of. So like that piece is like really what we're focusing on next for users. Like once that experience is better, like it's a flywheel for developers to be like, all right, like we can start innovating with like new things to build on. Now like just tooling is here not just for developers but also for users and making the full experience better. So I think like chain agnostic and like gas abstraction is like very much like that multi-chain like compatibility, multi-chain feature that like we're actively working on.
Oh, you make it sound really simple, right? But to be very honest, maybe some of us will have questions like, what are the real challenges, and then do you have a solution to the challenge that you found,
Yeah, so like with layer 0 specifically, there's like inherently two pieces to it, right? The verification is like calling initial step, and like there's some big compressions of like verifying messages that like attesting to something that has happened on a source chain to like make sure like you can do that state transition on the destination chain. And the second piece of it is like the actual relaying of the transactions. So like once the security is like attested for, like this is good to go and like be executed, there needs to be the actual execution piece. And so that piece where layer 0 labs runs a relayer where we're doing the gas abstraction on behalf of the user. So like I pay on source chains and going ETH to Solana. I pay for the entire transaction upfront once in ETH and like the gas on the destination side, and Sol is just like taking care of it, right? And so using that relayer to like be effectively as like a paymaster is like how we're thinking about like as a user, I don't care about gas at all. I can just like effectively use it out of my USDT or whatever that I'm working, and like take care of it with the infrastructure that already exists today.
What about you? Same question. I mean, challenges.
Yeah.
What are your solutions?
Yeah, to us, the challenge we are solving will be security and efficiency. So, because we started building this around 2020, 2021, there were hacks on cross-chain bridges. Cross-chain bridges are actually the most prone to weakness in the entire industry because different chains have different consensus. How do you know the state of the other chain when you're on a different chain? So that's a problem, that's a challenge we're trying to solve. Before there were many ways of solving it, like multi-party computing, there are like institutional nodes, node operators can sign it. However, all those solutions would involve human. When it involves human, there will be human errors. Humans can be corrupted. Operators can collude with others to steal your money. So, well, internally, I think no one can be trusted, especially if you are trying to cross-chain $1 billion. You cannot trust anyone to do that. The only thing you can trust will be math, because humans will lie to you, but math will not. 1 plus 1 will be equal to 2. So starting with that point, we build what we call ZK bridge. So we build everything upon zero knowledge proof. So we do not sign, but we prove. We do not tell, we prove. Everything we build on-chain, open source, publicly viewable, smart contracts that everyone can verify the execution. Proofs are public, and everyone can verify the proofs. So for the entire verification process, also from our workflow with layer 0, the entire verification does not involve any human factors. Everything runs on-chain. Everything runs on smart contracts and ZK proofs. So in that way, we are able to minimize the security risk. So the only failure point of the system will be failure of the entire blockchain because we still rely on the consensus. If the consensus break, then this will go wrong as well. But other than the problems within the consensus, everything else we can make sure that is 100% secure.
Good one.
Yeah, I have a different point of view because I'm not a tech guy. Honestly, it's adopting and selecting multi-chains and which from out of layer 1 was not a huge deal for us. It's about deciding how to do it, but our the most hurdle that we face is because they're right in the Web3 running community, 90% of our app users, the app users are coming from all around the globe. So we need to identify what kind of taste the runners and users have, what kind of preference they have, what kind of a compatibility and comfortable zone they have. So I think we focus a lot of time about actual user experience and the user interface, where users, our eternal goal is the users don't even know if they're using multi-chain or not. Like think about this, like where everyone is using iPhone or Galaxy, Samsung Galaxy, but the users don't know which chips are inside the smartphones. Like I think everyone here in this room, we are too early adopter, and we are too deep inside of the industry, but we don't know what the users, actual end users, really want. So I think we focus more. I know technology is important, but we focus more on the user interface and the user experience, where people actually doesn't even know which kind of chain or multi-chains they're using. Our eternal goal is just to make users smoothly, seamlessly use our service using this beautiful blockchain technology, especially multi-chain.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with like what Antonio mentioned about security, because even if the experience is going to be like smooth, but essentially smooth experience is only enabled like through Web 2 centralization. So from the user standpoint, security is also something that is very important. So at ZK Link, what we do is that we actually build up this multi-chain state synchronization engine, whereby all the different L2 states transaction, they are going to get synchronized on like a primary chain, which is linear, and ultimately transferred to the Ethereum chain. So you can imagine essentially all the transactions are going to achieve Ethereum level security. It's not an L2 security at all, so it's the hard fidelity is going to achieve on Ethereum side.
I think this will be the last question. I think we talk about a lot on technology, right? If today these audiences are not Web3 guys, they will think that we're crazy, right? What ZK and so forth, right? So let's talk something about more practical, all right? So what kind of future development do you see in multi-chains? All right, that's number one. And the follow-up question to that is that how do you see businesses adopt the technology? Because after all, we need to be sustainable. We need people to buy the services, right? So let's start.
I think the future is going to be like chain agnostic or chain abstraction. So essentially, for the DApp, they are not going to care, which chain they are going to be deployed on, but they will be able to tap onto that unified liquidity across all the different L2. So take for example, like USDC from Arbitrum, USDC from Optimism, USDC from Base, or even on newer like L2 chains, they are going to be like merged into like a single USDC, right, through the CCT. Yeah. So essentially, how the business are going to adopt to that, I would say for those projects or builders that are building, they don't even have to care which chain they are launched on. So it's going to be like a simple integration towards like a unified chain for them, and they don't even have to care about security, because the chain infra itself will take care of the security. But if, let's say, for the specific protocol, they would like to, customize on the speed of transactions, etc., then they can choose on the modularity layer or the modularity structure that they want to choose on. Yeah, so that is fine.
All right. Maybe the later part about commercialization, maybe look at it not within the Web3 industry. How do you think others can buy your service and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I think it's like I said before, over and over, to me, the security is already secure. Although I know although we use blockchain technology, there's a lot of securities risks involved, but these things will get better. But I think it's more about when it comes to commercialization. Like I think of this like user select, like for example, which service or which technology they're going to use out of the app stores, or so I mean, the users in like 10, 20 years, they're going to have much more options and alternatives to be involved. So I think it's more about when the end user, without knowing or acknowledging or realizing which chain or which technology they're using, I think it's more about how comfortable they're using the actual end services or how fast they make the services. That's going to be the key to the commercialization, and we want to make it look like as minimal as possible and as fast as possible. That's out of when we use the actual service. Like for example, it's going to be running, involving and competition in the running marathon events, because we have Air Ryan has 7 biggest marathon IPs into the Web3 application. So I think it's more about users selecting how comfortable and how fast they can make the transaction out of the B2B commerce or B2C commerce.
Yeah, I can tell us something more practical and also what we are thinking about the next steps. So the core of blockchain technology is actually computing. From Bitcoin, mining, from Ethereum consensus, everything is based on computing. And what blockchain brings, it is a perfect solution for P2P network transactions. So combining them together, what we are envisioning for a multi-chain future and different blockchains will be networks of computing powers. Imagine your phones, your GPUs, your laptops, and those can be units of computing power. And the blockchain structure will help you to trade your computing power from a peer-to-peer point of view. And that's what we are envisioning, one form of the application of blockchain technology. And regarding the business application, it can be used in different ways when people need computing power. So we actually counted the number of chips Apple delivered last year. It was a huge amount of computing power, but it is redundant now. Your phone, you don't use it that much. You have your laptops in your home, you have your PCs, you have everything else. But in the world, there are people who need computing power. For example, now I'm on a business trip. I only bring my MacBook Air, but I want to play Resident Evil, for example. I don't have a GPU with me, I don't have graphics, but people, other places, they do have in your home, so I can actually borrow their computing power to play that for me. And also for AI startups, when they want to train large language models, they probably do not have the funds to buy 100 H100s to start with. So they can borrow some computing power from those who have it to start doing their AI experiments. So that's what we're envisioning in the future with blockchain technology powering P2P computing power transaction that can collect redundant computing power around the world for those who really need it.
Yeah, from a practical standpoint, I still think like we haven't actually executed on the things that are like very obvious, where like the difference between like using your own bank account as anyone in the world would do this today, who has a bank account, right? Like you have to operate within the bank's operating hours, right? Like 5 days a week, you have certain hours that you can't do that. Like crypto is inherently 24/7, 365. It doesn't go down, and so there's a lot of power in that when you think of like just the base use case of Bitcoin and blockchain in the beginning, which is just payments, right? Like how many times do you try to move money from, like when I do it, like I live in Canada, but I'm a US citizen, like I try to move money from my bank account in Canada to the US, it's like 2 or 3 days, I have like 10K max for like a certain amount of time that I can like actually move that money, and it's like, it's my money. And so there's still like some centralization power based off of like things that I cannot control myself, which is like the whole point of crypto was that like this is easier for users, like they own their money, they own their custody, it's their money, like it can never be censored, it can never be taken away from them. It is 365, 24/7, 365, right? And so I think those facts are like very powerful and something that like we have not fully like executed on to like to get mass adoption. It's like fast payments, owning your own money and like doing whatever you want, whenever you want, with your own money is like super powerful. And I think a lot of the excess things that like a lot of other people are working off of, like if you solve those easy things first, it'll make all the other stuff we're doing in the industry like that much better because we're already solving to get the easiest, most practical thing for every person in the world. So from a practical standpoint, I think the base, like back to the foundation and the fundamentals of crypto is like I think where we should like double and then triple down to like continue to get mass adoption quicker over the next decade, 2 decades.
All right, great views. I mean, sadly we have to end the panel, but I think the future is very bright, and let's continue to build. You know, thank you everybody. Can we have a picture? The professional one. All right, thank you everybody.
All right, guys. So we had a lot of fun this afternoon. I think some people left, some people are coming, some people are still here. Thanks everyone for staying in here. So now is the fun part. So we got for everyone who has a pink wristband, you can go to the first floor.